All right, let's talk about a really specific moment that so many successful people hit. You know the one, you've done everything right, you've climbed the ladder, you've hit the goals, and yet something just feels off.
It's such a weird paradox, isn't it? On paper, your LinkedIn profile is perfect. You've got the senior title, you're financially stable, but deep down, there's this feeling that something's not quite right. It's like the person you are today just doesn't connect with the work you're doing day in and day out.
You know, this feeling isn't just some random thought. It's a real thing, a phenomenon that we can actually diagnose. And giving it a name, that's always the first step to figuring out what to do next.
And that name is the invisible plateau. It's invisible because from the outside, you look like a huge success. But that success is actually hiding the struggle that's going on inside. This isn't about failing, not at all. It's about succeeding your way right past the goals you set for a much younger version of yourself. Okay, this is so important. We have to distinguish between two totally different things. On one side, you've got burnout. That's a problem of volume, you're just doing too much. The solution, rest. But on the other side, there's something called identity fatigue. This is a problem of alignment. It's the exhaustion that comes from playing a role that just doesn't fit you anymore. And a vacation isn't going to fix that. The only solution is reinvention.
And look, if any of this is starting to sound eerily familiar, I really want you to hear this. You are absolutely not alone. This is way more common for high achievers than anyone talks about.
Just how common? Well, get this. A recent survey of pros feeling this exact way found that a staggering 83% are actively trying to find a path forward. See, this isn't some tiny niche problem. It's a massive wake-up call.
So, what are the biggest hurdles people are facing? This chart really breaks it down. It boils down to three core feelings: a total lack of clarity on what's next, a deep, nagging desire to make a more meaningful impact, and this frustrating sense of just being stuck, even when everything looks so successful from the outside.
So what is going on here? What's the real root cause of this invisible plateau? Well, here's the good news. It's not a personal failure. Not at all. It's basically a technical one. It's all about the operating system your career has been running on.
Think about it like this. Every one of us runs on a personal and professional operating system, a PPOS. It's all the background code, your habits, your beliefs, how you define success. The only problem is, you probably installed that software years ago for a version of you that doesn't even exist anymore. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It totally reframes the problem, doesn't it? The system that got you here to this awesome level of success, it just doesn't have the programming to get you there, to that next level of purpose and impact. You're not stuck because you're not capable. You're stuck because you've simply outgrown your own code.
So all those feelings we talked about, the fatigue, that sense of misalignment, the constant questioning, they aren't actually the problem. They're the signals. They're the system alert pop-ups on your screen telling you that your PPO is dangerously out of date and it is time for a critical upgrade.
Okay, so if your operating system is old news, the obvious next question is how in the world do you install a new one? How do we go from just diagnosing the problem to actually doing something about it?
Well, the answer isn't to work even harder or to just start making random, chaotic changes. The answer is to work smarter on yourself. And that requires a structured, intentional process, a framework built for exactly this kind of transition.
The Aura Transition Framework gives you that exact path. It's a 4-phase journey. First, awareness, which is all about getting real about what's actually happening. Then, unification, where you start to design the future you really truly want. Next is resonance, finding the guts to act on that vision. And finally, amplification, where you build the habits and systems to make that new reality stick.
And here's the thing, a successful reinvention is so much bigger than just your job title. It's a holistic upgrade. It's about looking at all 5 of your life capitals you see here, your spiritual, physical, relational, intellectual, and financial health. True alignment only happens when all of these are working together to support your next chapter.
Once you get this framework, the whole perspective just shifts. That feeling of being stuck on a plateau, it's not a crisis anymore. It actually becomes an opportunity.
This quote says it all, right? The plateau isn't a wall you've crashed into. It is not the end of your story. It's a doorway. It's this powerful moment where you get to pause, take a breath, and consciously design what you want to come next.
So let's end on this final thought. Look, the question isn't if you're going to change. That's going to happen no matter what. The real question is, are you going to do it with intention? What if this feeling of being completely stuck is actually the most important invitation of your entire career?
From a purpose point of view. Because it's important for us to ask those questions. What can my experience create in terms of the greatest value? What are you uniquely equipped for? What kind of legacy do I want my work to leave? When you ask some of those questions, you go into deep thought. And then you're able to have an understanding of how you move from a point of plateau to a point of transformation to a point of impact. And for me, my thoughts on this, as I close in reference to that question, we are all created, in essence, to make a contribution to this world that we came in. We are meant to make a contribution, and we feel at our best when we are making that contribution. But again, as a chicken and egg situation, for you to make that contribution, you need to first get in touch with self. For you to be able to grow yourself and be able to make a contribution. So, a few thoughts for you. Closing the impact gap involves you making the right contribution. And making that right contribution involves you on focusing on self-development, not self-fulfillment. Because you can't give what you don't have. So that focus is very critical. Defining success by sowing and not reaping. Because in the world we live in, many times we are all about what can we get. But fulfillment comes from what can I give? You should consider the success of your day based on the seeds of success that you've planted. Don't let people own you. That's a very critical area to look into, because if you're not careful, the people would want to control and own you. And probably what they have for your life is not in line with what you have for your life. Also, do not let staff own you, because again, you may have all this but not fully fulfilled. Put people first as a matter of principle. How far you go in life depends on you being tender and compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with those who are striving, tolerant with those who are weak. Yeah. So, and lastly, being grateful. So that's how we make that transition, I trust, from clarity to impact. And thank you, Blend, again.
Thank you so much, Coach Bob. Clearly, from clarity to impact. Once you know where you want to go, then you will be able to be of impact because you will be intentional. I like the word intentionality. It takes me back to the law of intentionality in the 15 invaluable laws of growth. That one speaks to me a lot. And it's one of the reasons as to why we are here on this call today. I will not say the other name, Dr. Maz, Dr. Mazindo, would like to hear from you from a mental health perspective. These days, we talk a lot about mental health. Everything is mental health. What happens internally when professionals reach this stage of questioning their career direction?
Yeah, there are lots of factors that are at play here. And the first one, I would love to approach it from the basic need theory by Tony Robbins, because it's a theory that applies very, very well in the industry in which I'm functioning. And that is the need for certainty, the need to create stability for your future. And that is where we kickstart our careers. We want stability. We want a stable income. We want a stable home. We want stable relationships. And then that sense of stability and that sense of certainty limits our career choices to what will give us enough money, what will give us title, what will give us structure, what will give us systems, and that what will make us fit into a system that is ready-made. Because systems that are ready-made have proven records. I mean, for many, many years, people who are medical practitioners are highly successful. For example, for many, many years, if you become an accountant, we know that you become successful. So instead of choosing from the onset the careers that actually speak to who we are at the core, we try to fit ourselves into already existing templates. For what? For certainty, for stability, for knowing, for peace of mind of knowing that I won't be without income, and then I won't be without money. I will always be driving my car. I will always have enough fuel, food to eat. And that need for certainty is very important because it is a survival need. So at the inception of our careers, we start with the sole purpose to survive. But once the need for certainty has been met, it becomes muted in our brains. Now we become aware of another need, which is the need for uncertainty. The need to not really know what life is all about. You know, if you can watch the same movie 100 times, you're not going to get to the seventh time, because now that you know exactly what's going to happen, it becomes boring. There's nothing to look forward to. It's like, don't we have any other movie? So we know with movies, even the song, if you can play your favorite song on repeat for the whole day, maybe the third time it plays, your mind starts tuning out of the song, thinking about other things. And when you go back to the song, you're like, oh my goodness, I missed 4 minutes of the song, because the brain is not wired to pay attention to things that are familiar and things that are in a I think it's Coach is it Coach Dennis who spoke about the autopilot? Like once you get the autopilot, you lose the thrill of the drive. You lose the thrill of the flight. That's where you start saying, I've got everything I need. Yes, I'm a doctor. Yes, I'm an accountant. Yes, I've got a good balance in my account. Yes, I've got family. Yes, I've got children. But who am I if you take this all away? And then that is the time in your career where you realize that you have been surviving within systems that were not meant to hold you. And that's when you feel squeezed in your career. It happened to me. For 10 years, I worked for government here in South Africa, for Free State Department of Social Development, to be precise. I was earning a very good income and there was potential for growth. But even when I looked at the potential for growth, I'm like, yes, I will get a promotion, but it will be doing the same thing at a higher level, a level that makes it impossible for me to exit the space, because I could feel that this is not about me. It was good for me to start my life, but it's not good for me to grow my life into a position of contribution and a position of significance. Remember, we are all born with an intent purpose to leave the world better than we found it. And then once you have all you wanted, all you needed, by aligning yourself to all the templates and the pre-existing systems that were meant for you, you just train into it, and then you become it. When you graduate, you work as it. This thing has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with what has been happening for a very long time before you were born. And that's why the question of purpose is very significant in helping you reinvent yourself once you feel that, you know what, I am experiencing now an existential crisis. I'm not sure if my life is making the difference that it was not meant to make. And I've met successful professionals who say, I know I'm successful, I'm experienced. People even look up to me, but I feel like my life is not making a difference. I'm not making an impact. And that's an impact gap. And one of the clients that I had was a clinical psychologist who was in private practice for 8 years, seeing 18 to 20 patients per day, highly successful, having everything that she wants in terms of money, in terms of anything that she wanted to build. And she said something to me. She said, I feel like my life is making no difference. I feel like I'm having no impact. And if I die now, and I think she was 41 years old, part of the midlife crisis there. And she said, but if I happen to die, in this state, I don't think I'm going to rest in peace because I still believe that there's more in me than I am expressing. So what is happening psychologically when you feel stuck is the awareness of misalignment between who you really are and the systems that you were born to fit into to be successful. All of us need, we grow within the voices that we are given, but we have an inherent need to grow into the voices that that was sort of imparted in us when we were conceived, because we are all born with voices, but those voices do not have a place in the space in the universe. Some of the people, they choose the career that aligns with their purpose from the start, but most people are misaligned. That's why at the end of the day we notice that I'm stuck. I don't know what my life is all about. I don't even know who I am and what I'm supposed to do, but I know that what I am doing does not give me peace. I drag myself to work every day in the morning. My Fridays are my favorite days, and Mondays are my painful days. I'm not looking forward to Mondays because it means I still have 5 days to do the same of this. Now it becomes psychologically daunting because once certainty is met, there's a need for an open sky thinking where you will possibly meet yourself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mazindo. You have clearly thrown a lot of light as to why we do the things that we do. Subconsciously or cautiously, it's all coming from somewhere. We realize that many successful professionals feel guilty, admitting they are no longer fulfilled. Exactly the example you've given of that doctor. Why does this internal conflict happen?
Yeah, it's the loyalty to the systems that have already that have always existed. If you try to challenge what has always been, it feels like your argument holds no water because who am I against all this? For example, who am I against science? Who am I against religion? If science says so, who am I to actually see it differently? Who am I to sort of have a different opinion? And that loyalty to certainty and to everything that already exists, every template that already exists, it conflicts with this desire to be what has never been and what represents you. So because once you get to this stage, you experience what I call existential awakening, where now you awaken to who you really are beyond your titles, beyond your money, beyond who you are and the red carpets that you the red carpets and the blue lights if you're a politician. And then that there's that conflict. I am conflicted between staying with what's already working and then so confirm people who came before me that it's true. Remember, people that rather die than do what has never been done before. Because once you do what has never been done before, it seems like you are betraying everybody who came up with that. And then now there's another thing that says, all these things, even though I can't challenge them, they can't contain me. And then how can I go forward? Because going forward means I have to betray existing systems. Not only the existing systems, I have to betray the version of myself who used to fit into those systems. So it's like psychological fragmentation, cognitive dissonance, where your brain, in your mind, you want something for yourself, but at the same time, you have the need to stay in something that has already been created. It's about maybe the difference between buying an already built house and building your own house. You know that, okay, the house that has already been built is complete. It's easier to enter into. But at some point, like, I don't want to be in this house anymore. I need to build my own house. But what does it mean for the person who took time to build the house? Like we have that thing, that loyalty to who we used to be, and we no longer are, and it's squeezing us into careers that no longer fit us. And then we are afraid to think differently, to come up with anything that has never been done before. So we know deep down we are inventors of new things, but environmentally, we have to fit into the things that are already invented. So there is an inventor in all of us that is trapped into current systems that are preventing us from inventing what should be happening. How are we going to fly if the two Welber brothers, Wright brothers, Welber and Orville, did not gather the courage to do what has never been done before, flying an aeroplane? If they didn't try to do what has never been done before, the world would still have been left behind. So I'm saying to you, yes, it's good to stay in what has already been created, but as your runway, not as your sky. You need to take off from there and try to express what has been impressed within you when you were born. And that is how you can manage the conflict. The conflict is caused by loyalty to the known and familiar past, and then being drawn and compelled to the unknown and unfamiliar future that represents who we really are.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Mazindo. And in the chat, we have Jane asking, but then how do we break free from these conditioning systems? It is how that is crucial to me. I hope I've read the question well and you're able to interpret it.
Yeah, yes. We need to understand that we all have this survival mentality to help us navigate our environment. But we need to also understand that what was given to us for survival is not enough to help us grow. Because survival is just about the avoidance of pain and the pursuit of pleasure. If you are not working, you are in pain. If you are working, you are in pleasure. But that is survival is at instinctive level. But there's a level of intent and intellect that human beings have that animals do not have. It's the purpose. How can I? Because if you have a sense of purpose and meaning about your life, you are able to embrace pain for the better cause, and we are able to reject pleasure if it's going to derail you from your purpose. So the overarching thing that we are supposed to pursue is, am I doing what I am born to do? Am I who I am born to be? Because remember, the world that we are born into, it gives us the identity that helps us survive our environment. But there's an identity within us that is not in line with that environment. I like the comment that I just saw now, a person who's saying, I'm already grieving the version of myself that fit into those systems because I know that I have to let go of it. And that is a very, very valid psychological reaction where you have to grieve the person that you used to be. But after grieving the person you used to be, kiss that person goodbye and embrace gratitude for the person that you are becoming. I know that known hells are preferable to strange heavens, but even if it is still heaven, even if you don't know it, and it's still hell, even if you know it. So people choose to stay in the hell they know because they don't have the courage to deal with the uncertainty of the heaven that they don't know. But at the end of the day, many people are afraid to take one step that makes the difference between realization and actualization. And that is a clear exodus strategy. And people like Coach Barungi, as those transition strategists, we have people like that now. When I was transitioning into this space of being in private practice, becoming leadership consultant, now performance consultant, and all these things from the work that some of the jobs, they were good when we started, but now you feel like you died in your 20s and now you are waiting through life for your funeral in your 70s. Like, you are not alive. Like, oh my goodness, when is my funeral coming? And others, they don't say, when is my funeral coming? They're saying, when am I retiring? I still have 20 years ahead of me. And then when I was still working with those people, I used to walk behind them for about 50 meters. And then they wouldn't even know. I'm a giant if I stand. I'm very tall. I'll be like this compared to them, but they were not even aware that there's someone on the inside. Because when you feel stuck, and when you feel I'd rather stay in the system. It becomes very hurtful. And the only way to survive is to tune out psychologically. So when you tune out psychologically, you don't become present. You are never present. When you are in the office, you are thinking about the vacation. When you are in the vacation, you are thinking about the work that you didn't do in the office. You are never present in your life. And that sort of it deprives you the opportunity to stay with the pain and the existential anxiety, that if you can sit with that pain, you can find a way out of the pain by finding your purpose. That, okay, maybe, because remember, pain is not our enemy. Pain is our friend. Pain is the reason why you are not going to burn to death, because once you put the finger, pain says, remove the finger before your whole body dies. If we were incapable of feeling pain, we would have died not knowing that we have died. You would have chopped off your fingers thinking that you are chopping the carrot. But once your finger touches your skin, pain says stop. But we are trying to run away from the pain by doing more work, buying more things, distracting ourselves. Now we're into alcohol, drugs, sex, pornography, trying to distract ourselves from the pain, trying to numb the pain. Pain was never meant to be numbed. Pain was meant to listened to, because out of pain is a reliable messenger who will give you a sense of direction to the life that your body, your mind, your spirit knows that you were born to live.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Mazindo, for that deep dive. We could go on and on. This is really a masterclass just to give us an appreciation and understanding of why we actually need to start thinking about reinventing ourselves. There are comments that are coming through and we will read them. But as we proceed, I would like to throw a question to Coach Lynn. Coach Lynn, this is going to you. Many people try to solve career stagnation by changing jobs. This has happened to many of us. We have changed jobs simply because we are running away from the pain. But we've learned today that pain is actually good. It's actually good. It's something that we need to go through. So the actual reality is that we are running away from deeper issues that lie across our different areas of life. And this is where the Life Capitals framework becomes powerful, a framework that we use. Coach Lynn, could you briefly explain the 5 life capitals and why they matter in career reinvention?
Thank you so much, Coach Blenda. As we navigate life, we do have careers that we do have 5 life capitals, and these are the spiritual capital, the intellectual capital, and the relational capital, financial capital, and the physical capital. As we grow up, we have been trained, whether it's mentally or physically, we have been trained to start our life by, we go to school, we get the job, get the white collar job, get the money, and we end up focusing on just a few life capitals. When it comes to the spiritual capital, this is the innermost compass. What is that one thing? What are those things that, what am I doing? What purpose do I have? So as we navigate life, we neglect the spiritual capital. We neglect the physical capital and concentrate on the financial capital, the intellectual capital, and the relational capital. When we talk about the physical capital, this is the health, the stress that we manage. This is the mental, physical time we go to the gym and all. But when we talk about the relational capital as well, this is the connections we have. These are the boundaries and the support systems that we have in place. These are the friends. These are the mentors that we have. These are the coaches that we have. These are the people who are around us, the family and all. And then when we come to the intellectual capital, this is how much have I read? What do I know? What have I accomplished over the years? These are the certificates that we've managed to get. These are the degrees that we've managed to get. These are the books that we read on a daily. When it comes to the financial capital, this is the stability, the resources that we generate over the years. These are the houses that we've built. And this is the freedom that we are seeking. That is the financial capital. Yes, Splenda, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Coach Lynn. And I'll just like to ask a preceding question to that. Which of these capitals do professionals most commonly neglect when they hit a plateau?
So, like I've mentioned, as we grow up, we have been taught, or we have been, I would say, we have made to believe that the financial capital, or should I say, we should build our finances. We should ensure that we go to school, learn, get the job, be paid the high salaries, and many high performers or professionals have become so focused on the financial and intellectual growth. Learning, in this case, you only find yourself from the time you get your first job to the time that you feel like, you know what am I doing? I'm not comfortable anymore. My values I'm questioning my values. You find that you have built all this, but you lack that innermost compass that directs you to the purpose that you initially had from the beginning of, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to become. This is the impact I want to make in the world. So as you focus on the financial or intellectual capital, you've built all the networks that you can, you have worked in the spaces that you can, you find yourself asking yourself, what purpose, or why am I here? What is that one thing that I should be, what impact should I be making? What's the one thing that I should do to ensure that I leave this world a better place? So I believe that the financial and the intellectual capital are the two capitals that people mostly concentrate on. And this has also brings you to a place where you appear successful on the external, but internally you begin to feel fatigued, misaligned, and a lot of loss of meaning. So right now, as you've asked, the most capitals that are mostly neglected are spiritual capital and the physical capital. The intellectual and the financial capital are mostly given the attention, and this is where we find ourselves working from 9 to 5, neglecting our relational capital in some cases, where our families see us very few times. Literally, you're always at work. So intellectual capital and the physical and the financial capital are given more attention than the spiritual capital and the physical capital.
Thank you so much, Coach Lynn, for demystifying this for us. And maybe just to throw in more light for us all, we are often used to the word financial capital. We hear that a lot. And we often hear it in terms of investing, because we want to multiply the investments. The key question is, have we actually taken time to invest in the other dimensions of our lives? Because at the end of the day, if those different dimensions are not invested in, then you will actually experience a sense of not being fulfilled. When your spiritual life is empty, when you do not have and have not defined the values that drive you each and every single day, you will live like a wanderer who doesn't know where they are going, who will be swayed around. I think Coach Dennis or Coach Bob mentioned it, whereby people drive your life. They determine the direction you take, and yet you should be in charge of your own life. We often neglect the physical capital. It's an investment. You have to be intentional about investing in that particular area of your life. Your relational capital. I believe many of us are on this call because of the relations that we've built. You possibly came across this link on maybe one of the platforms. We have intentionally included ourselves on platforms that are global, and not just the platforms that are within our jurisdictions, not just the platforms that are speaking to our profession in our country, but learning from every other person. You realize how these capitals are actually interrelated and interconnected, that if you leave out any, then there will be a sense of emptiness in your life. And you will be seeking to fill that particular gap, but you do not know what it is. And so even as we run our programs, this is one of the tools that we use to help you identify where the barriers are, where the lies are, the beliefs are, because it's a culture that we live in. It's important for us to invest in the 5 life capitals of our lives. So Coach Lynn, thank you so much for that. Coach Dennis, should I hand over to you now? Okay, as Coach Dennis comes on board, I'll just take you through one of the frameworks that we use as part of the tools and as a methodology that we have adopted in supporting people to transition, in supporting people to transform. We know that you cannot transition or transform without the renewal of your mind. We have talked about the awareness. Coach Bob Ebley spoke about this. And from a psychological perspective by Dr. Mazindo, everything starts with you clarifying the clarity gap, clarifying where you are today and where you would want to be. So using the life capitals, we do actually do an audit in our lives, establish where you are, ask yourself, is this where I really want to be? And if it is not, where do I want to be? And if there is a gap, what is actually causing that gap? So that even as you're addressing this, you're not addressing it from a point of treating a symptom, because we will run away from the jobs that we are in because we are trying to treat a symptom without necessarily finding what the actual root cause is. And in our framework, the aura framework, aura being awareness, which is the first stage, the first phase that you go through, unification being the second phase, resonance the third, and the fourth being amplification. And we are saying it's important for you to also light a torch bulb within yourself and illuminate your inner landscape. Why are we doing this? We are trying to run away from being reactive, to stop being reactive and start being proactive at everything that we do. It's high time for us to stop fearing, because I saw in the comments, one of us shared that the biggest part of it comes from a fear of the unknown. Okay? Someone mentioned, I think it was Rose, that I think it's uncertainty and fear causing me to stagnate. And it's clear, fear, because you do not know where you're going. You have not defined where you are going. But why haven't you defined? You haven't dealt with your inner self. Coach Lynn is a workplace trauma coach. Why is she a workplace trauma coach? She has realized that the traumas, Coach Dennis talked about it, the toxic environment that we face in our workplaces, they start affecting us and we start making decisions in a certain way because someone has decided to define us a certain way and we have believed that that is who we are. I could share with you my story, but if you could get my book, you would find it there. But it's clear that if we do not move away from a toxic mindset is whereby you have allowed all the things around you to define who you are without you defining who actually you are. And that's where we talk about the diagnosis of a personal and professional operating system. We have had the word operating system used with a computer, and we will use that analogy. Without the Windows, we would not even be able to have this call because the Zoom app sits on the Windows operating system. Same applies to Linux and all the iOSs. So it's important that you deal with your operating system, your core values, your core beliefs, what your culture is, the experiences, and define them and identify where your traumas are, Because often, because we have not defined our traumas, then we are not able to move. We will still keep on going back to the same point that we were at. You can access my book from Aristoc, but it's also available on Amazon for those who are not in Uganda. For those in Uganda, you can access it from Aristoc booklets. So once you define what you are aware and define what your inner landscape is, you have also analyzed your external landscape, because we often blame the external without necessarily looking at the internal. Once you have defined your inner landscape, then we talk about you aligning your purpose to your vision. And with this, many of us at the beginning of the year, we often put down vision statements and all, because we are setting out goals. Without you dealing with this other perspective, then you're not able to achieve your vision. But even if you achieve your vision, all the qualifications that you get, without you aligning them to your purpose, then you will not be fulfilled. And so at the stage of unification, we intentionally define our direction, having observed what is within us and where we want to be and how we can overcome it. So designing the future that we actually want.
Thank you.
When we look at resonance, resonance simply speaks to us aligning with courage. Leadership is about resonance, resonating with others, influencing others, being able to create followers. In my belief system, I was reading one of our life's manuals, and one of the things that stood out for me is that I think it's in the book of Exodus chapter 35, towards the end. And it talks about each one of us having been given a gift. But that gift is not just for us. That gift is for us to be able to impact and influence another person's life. And what stands out is that you should be able to actually train others in the skill that you have been provided. And that is the reason as to why we are here. For us to share our experiences that we have gone through in life and how we have managed to sail through them so that we can help another individual to come out of the mud. We used to play a game called Stuck in the Mud when we were younger. I don't know how many of us here on call have experienced that. Stuck in the mud, you cannot move anywhere because you are blinded. You do not know what next. You do not know whether you can grow vertically or horizontally. This particular phase is a phase where you intentionally build a tribe or a following through your leadership. We talk about the 5 levels of leadership. Our mentor, John Maxwell, talks about it. But getting to the 5th level is not an easy task. You have to move away from you being defined by the title to a point where you are actually able to develop others and your legacy can live on. It's about building a legacy. And that's where the amplification phase comes in. And amplification, this is where you redesign your operating system. And how do we redesign this? Is us being intentional about building the right habits. There's a book, Atomic Habits, that Coach Bob actually does mastermind classes on under his program, the Transformational Leader Unveiled. You can actually access this through him, but you have to be intentional about the habits. First of all, unlearning and relearning, because what holds us back is often us being fixed-minded on the habits that we have built over time. But also to note that what got you here is not what is going to take you to the next level. So you should be able to move from a dream to a daily practice. The things that you do every day are the things that are going to determine your growth. They are the things that are going to determine the legacy that you leave behind. And legacy is not just about you leaving this earth and leaving all forms of property available. It is about that skill that you have living on through others. That even when you're not there, and not there doesn't mean death, but when you have retired and moved away, someone else can still do what you were able to do. And so we highly ride on this even through our reinvention circles, our programs that we run as Radiant Mind. We do run different programs, and specifically, yes, when you're not in the room, it should still function even without you. So we do run different programs because the problem that we solve is mid-career stagnation and leadership misalignment. That is what we seek to solve. And so we've put together programs specifically to address this. The first one, and specifically why we are here, is the Mid-Career Reinvention Circle. And if we are to speak to this program is an 8-week cohort-based virtual experience. Our audience is for accomplished professionals. You have had experience that you've gone through in life, but you have reached a point where you feel stagnated. And the methodologies that we use on top of the so many others, because we are coaches, so there are tools that we actually use for assessments and diagnosis. But specifically the bespoke tools, customized tools that have been customized to the experiences that we are going through, specifically to transition, are the Aura framework and the 5 life capitals. And the environment within which we run this program is a psychologically safe and brave space with cross-industry peers to support each of our growth. We have the Akili Next Gen Leadership Program. It's really a program for the next generation because we've identified a gap in terms of leading the Gen Zs, but also the Gen Zs being led by the already existing generations, right from the Gen Xs and above to the baby boomers, if we still have baby boomers in the workplace. Yeah. So empowering each other to be able to thrive in the spaces that we are in. Then we have the Founders Crucible, as well as the Pathfinder for those who are trying to find themselves in terms of purpose. That's the Pathfinder. And then for those career professionals who are trying to step into entrepreneurship, we also have a program for them. So our programs are highly structured with a supportive journey from a state of fatigue to a new chapter of work. I would like to stop there, but just to let you know that the doorway to your next chapter is the Mid-Career Reinvention Circle. We are going to share a link with you in the chat. If you would like to participate in this program, you can actually also go to our website, www.radiantmindafrica.com for you to access our programs. So briefly, I'm going to share a link. I'm going to share a link for you to give us feedback because our time is fast spent. It's 11:33. We were supposed to stop at 11:30 and we are mindful of your time. So I'll just request for about 10 minutes of your time, if it is okay, just for you to give us feedback. And we will appreciate how we can move forward going from here. And we hope to hear from you. You can always reach out to us, or I'll ask my colleagues to type our email address, admin@radiantmindafrica.com, to share with us any kind of feedback that might be coming through. So Isabella, please share the form. Isabella or Devia, please share the form, the feedback form, as well as the enrollment form for any members who might be interested in signing up for the program. Thank you. I hope this session has been informative and you're able to make a decision of how you can move forward from here. So we've posted both the feedback form and enrollment form. You can start with the feedback form that has been posted by Radiant Mind. And then in case you're interested in enrolling, you can use the form that has been posted by Devia. We are happy to get feedback from you. It would really be nice for us to know how we can actually improve and how we can support you if you would need to get any kind of support from us. Thank you so much. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. We will give you an opportunity to unmute as the rest are giving feedback. Okay, thank you. If anyone would like to have a follow-up question, this is an opportunity for you. Feel free. Even if it's to appreciate, we would appreciate getting feedback from you. Okay, great. Go on, Teremai. Over to
yes,
you.
thank you. Just want to acknowledge you and say very well done, and thank you for the information. Very helpful, helped me untangle some bits, and I wish you well in the future. Just doing the feedback now.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Teremai. Pora Sheila.
Thank you very much for this session. It's very insightful. But I just needed your guidance. I'm sure I'll get more in the class. But I just recently resigned. But while at work, I knew this is not what I wanted to settle for. So I started a business in my interest. But it hadn't stabilized to the extent of matching the amount of money that I was getting from the job. But I reached a point I said I can't move on from here, so I resigned. So I'm in a state where I'm trying to see how I can grow this to match my financial needs, but I think I lack direction. And what must I do in this case?
Okay, thank you so much, Sheila. At this point, I would encourage you to actually sign up with us. Just go to our website, www.radiantmindafrica.com, and go to the contact us section. We are happy to further this discussion with you. I hope that is fine with you, Sheila. Okay, thank you so much. I'm waiting for the feedback to come through. It's good for us to have feedback. Well, since our time is fast spent, we would like to close up right now, but we would also like to extend our sincere appreciation to our partners that we've partnered with today, Transformational Leadership Unveiled, and that is Coach James Bob Barunji, as well as ICANN Leadership Institute that has been represented by Dr. Mazindo. I'll not speak the other name, but we also would like to appreciate each one of you. We thank you for the feedback that has also come through the feedback, the chat. Kimi, you've been highly interactive. We appreciate your contribution. Temulo, Hololo, Porashila, thank you. Martha, Rukidi, Jen Kachi, Rose Bongole, Kimi, we appreciate you all. And that being said, would like to call it a day. And please enjoy your weekend. Much respect. Thank you. You can log off at free will. But do please give us your feedback. We would appreciate getting it. I'll play a video.